Hello, here I am. It's still February and the weather is still miserable. Today the book that I'm reviewing is this one. It is Paris Echo by Sebastian Faulks. So this is a fiction book and I don't read a ton of fiction. So it's lucky to have been picked because I don't read loads of fiction. Okay, so I have read a Sebastian Faulks book before. I read Human Traces, that was quite a while ago now, but I really enjoyed that book. I thought it had a really good characters that sort of pulled it through over many years, and it had a lot of sort of historical knowledge that had been put into a fiction book. So yeah, it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. So I was looking forward to reading this. This is a much more contemporary book, although it's sort of bringing in some historical elements. So I was interested to see how that was going to work. It's set in Paris, and it's when is it actually set? It's probably like about within the last 10 years. And but it's also got sort of a focus on the Second World War period of occupation of Paris. So yeah, so I wanted to see how that would work. I was sort of interested to see that. So it's got sort of two main protagonists. There's Tariq, who is Moroccan, and he's there as an illegal immigrant, although he's got a lot of connections to France because his mother was French, and but he lives in Morocco, not with his mother, just with his dad and stepmother. But he decides to go to France to sort of, investigate his roots and things like that, and see what, France has waiting for him. So it's sort of a bit of a coming of age story for him. And then the other sort of main character is Hannah, who is an American white woman in her mid-30s. And she is, she's like an academic woman, so she's there on a sort of postgraduate thing, something like that. And she's doing this research into these women during the occupation for a book that somebody's writing back home. And then there's another sort of important character, Julian, who's this English person who Hannah knew when she'd been in Paris 10 years ago. So Hannah's got her sort of own demons from 10 years before, when she had a love interest that she's now sort of rehashing while she's there. And then she gets a sort of new love interest in Julian. Like, I don't know if you meant to say all the details that happen in books. I don't know. Anyway, and then some other sort of characters are Jamal and Hassan, who work at the fried chicken shop with Tariq. Okay, and Jamal is he's like a first generation Algerian, but his parents were sort of being held in like sort of camps when he was born, and he's a sort of symbol of that sort of French aggression as the colonies sort of struggled for independence. So it's sort of interesting that none of the characters are particularly like French, although they can sort of speak French, and like Jamal has been technically born there. They're not sort of like really French, but like the whole story is set in Paris, so I'm guessing that's intentional. And then the only sort of real French characters are these historical ones who Hannah is researching for her book, and then they also start sort of like coming into Tariq's life. Like, it gets a bit surreal. He's like seeing these women. Yeah, it got surreal. And there was also Victor Hugo, which I couldn't work out if he was supposed to be a real character, a real person, or somebody like one of these sort of weird ghosty people, whatever the hell they were meant to be, but they weren't ghosts because Tariq has an experience with one of them, so they weren't ghosts. I don't know. It's fiction, isn't it? You've got to sort of take it as it comes. So it sort of had these interesting themes about the sort of French denial of Nazi collusion in history, which was quite interesting because I've never really thought about that. Obviously, you only really learn about the resistance. You don't learn that actually most Germans didn't seem that bothered and got on all right with the Germans and were quite happy to help them with their dastardly deeds. So that was interesting. And it talks about them sort of swapping sides as well, just as they knew the sort of Allies were going to were probably going to start being successful. That's when the resistance everybody wanted to then join the resistance. So that was interesting. The whole sort of book is also sort of told through the kind of channel of the metro, talking about all the different stations, and they're on the metro a lot, especially Tarek, and travelling around looking at different areas of Paris. Obviously Paris is a modern city, a modern old city, I'd say, like London. So you have all this sort of glory and splendour in the tourist areas, and it's pretty grimy in a lot of the other areas. So that was all interesting. So although it had some interesting themes, I didn't really enjoy the book. It just didn't really fire me up ever at any point. I found the characters quite uninspiring as well. I just didn't really like anything about them, and the whole thing felt a bit PC. It's just all a bit safe, and a bit, even like maybe a little bit patronising. Like the sort of the bad deeds of the old days, and we're so much better. And I don't know. I just feel a little bit about that, like that, and I don't know. Like the whole impression of Paris was not particularly, complimentary. And I know that cities are like this, and you have all this sort of, and like London has a lot of immigration and things. So it's a very different place to how it would have been like 80 years ago. But I don't know that I really like to focus on the grimy, crimey bits of London. Usually try and avoid them when I go there. So I don't want to sort of glorify them. And I don't know, there was even this kind of, there was like a comment in there about how Tariq is sort of more open to things because of his ignorance of history and knowledge, which is just like felt so kind of and really patronising as well. And not my opinion. Anyway, so and although it was obviously written well enough, because I got through it really quickly and it was very easy to read, but it was just never very exciting. It was never very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there were interesting themes. I just didn't like the way it was written, and like the women seemed very kind of, I don't know if they were meant to be real women cases or if they had been made up for this story, but it just felt like too easy. That's the good one, there's the bad one, then these are the good things about the past, these are the bad things of the past, and you can see how this person was in this situation, but she's just a nasty. And it's like, don't know, it just all felt a bit too easy, too safe, too within the lines. And I wouldn't recommend it because I didn't really enjoy it. I was quite happy to that I was getting through it quickly and to get to the end of it and read something else. So that was that book. I mean, I do struggle with fiction. Some fictions I love, like if I like it, I think I need to get caught in the world of it and really, really empathise with the characters, and I did not do that with this book at all. I think that's probably the big issue. Okay, anyway, I finished reading that book, and now I'm reading this book, which interestingly also touches on a lot of themes about World War II. This is Blitzed by Norman Ohler. If that's pronounced wrong, obviously, I apologise. He's German. And this is about the Nazis and methamphetamine, which is really interesting. So this book has proper got me gripped and excited, and I'm absolutely loving it. So I think I'll be doing a review for that. I think I'm going to fly through that, and I'll be doing a review for that one soon as well. Okay, thank you.